And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
Is that cross play?
It's cross play with like PC players. Otherwise, I'd be like, "Yo, let's play."
I was just about to say, bro, why haven't we linked?
I know trust me, we would have been playing last week if I could have connected with you.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about getting it on the Switch, but
that would probably be dope. Who do you run with? Do you run with Mikey because you're Mikey?
No, I don't. That's the one weird thing. I don't run with Mikey because my brother's middle name is Raphael, and I was always like, why does he get to be a Ninja Turtle? It's actually my grandfather's name, but it was everyone called him Ralph. No one called him Raphael. So it was like I was like, I wish my middle name was a Ninja Turtle instead of Philip.
I mean, your first name's a Ninja Turtle. You're not the full version, but close enough.
Yeah. If they had deemed me Michelangelo, then yeah, I probably would have. But I love swords, so I go with Leo.
Oh yeah, Donnie's always been my dude. Donnie's my guy. He's always been my favorite turtle. I tried after the update. I tried running with Karai. I like her. It's just I'm such a Donnie guy.
It just made me really wish that I need to see the new animated movie, but I really...
Oh, you still haven't seen it? The one with Ice Cube and stuff?
I know.
That shit's dope, bro.
Lacking, but because it looks so good, but I'm just that franchise deserves so much more than what it.
The girl, I forget what the fuck her name was in The Bear. She plays April O'Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kills it.
And I've seen interviews with the kids who play the turtles, and they're all younger, and it looks like they did a really good job putting everything together. I just need to actually watch it. I wanted to go see it in theaters, and then I never made it out, which is a common occurrence with me apparently. But the movies stay in the theaters for 3 weeks, and then they're out.
Yeah, because before movies had I can't remember. I think it was 6 weeks. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was the 6 weeks, and then you get out. But now it's if shits ain't running, they get them the fuck up out of there.
Out it's crazy.
Yeah, Marvel's isn't in the movie theater anymore. It got taken out because of the low sales.
Yeah, well, it can't all be The Force Awakens. That movie ran. I think that movie ran for over a year because it just.
I believe that.
I definitely went to see it maybe 5 months after it had dropped. I think the first Avengers was like that too. But
yeah, I can't think of what movie it was, but there's definitely a movie in my head that I feel was in the theaters almost up until the sequel came out. It might have been Infinity War or Endgame, but I do remember a movie, and I was like, "This is still in the fucking theaters!" Damn, Jesus Christ!
People are still going to see it. There was a guy who I think went to see Infinity War every day for 200 days or something like that.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's super
wild.
nuts.
I don't know how
it's gonna bug me. No, it wasn't the sequel. There's a movie that I'm sure will hit me randomly that was in theaters literally up until the DVD came out. I can't remember what movie it was though. It'll come to me. But I remember seeing the DVD and the shit was still in some theaters. I was like, oh yeah, they running this.
I kind of miss DVDs, but I also don't. I like that.
They still exist.
Well, you're listening to Annie, Are You Okay? A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast.
That the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 are coming to Blu-ray.
There we go.
That wasn't on my list, but I just figured I might as well throw that in there.
Has a streamer ever gone to physical before? I don't recollect that ever happening before.
it happened.
Well,
I
look
feel
at
like
Disney.
There's got to be something that came out, but I feel like Mando is the first Disney Plus show to make the leap, unless WandaVision already did it.
That'd be a dope thing to have on DVD. I'm gonna look it up now. Let's see.
But yeah, the box set looks nice. It's like a steel book. Those always look nicer than the regular cases. I know I have
Yeah, WandaVision is on Blu-ray.
Well, there
I'd
you
get
go.
that.
Well,
I'd
I mean,
buy that.
we already did the thing, but I am Mikey, your host, here with my guy,
Rogue
Matt
One
Porter.
Chicken and
I didn't
baby.
bleep out your real last name because you couldn't hear it anyway in the last
Good
episode.
shit. Wonderful.
I think the Riverside picks and chooses when it wants to pick up, and that was like a no-no in the
It's a
system.
taboo.
It was like, we cannot reveal his real name.
Exactly.
But Rogue One, how you doing this week? You checked in?
I'm good, brother. I'm checking in. I'm checked in. I'm checked in for sure. For surely. Any chance I get to
big episode this week, but you know.
any chance I get to bash the sequel trilogy minus Force Awakens, I'm here for it, bro. Because I love that
Any
movie.
chance I
Force
get to
Awakens,
defend it,
I love.
I will rise to the occasion. But hey.
And that's why we work.
Yeah. So we are here, and are you okay? A Star Wars podcast. Gonna drop our spoiler warning, you know, like we do.
It'll spoilers will find their way in here somehow.
Naturally, they always find.
They always do. Life always finds a way.
It always does, and you know, we might as well hyper dive right in. We're gonna go into some rumor talk and popular rumors. Speaking of the Mandalorian, Mandalorian season 4 is instead being developed as a movie instead of a season of television. We're going to discuss the pros and cons to this, as well as validity of the rumor and what we would like to see. So
I'm not saying that we predicted that this might happen, but I feel like we talked about this before.
I think we did. Can I? Here we go. I hate this idea. I hate it.
I feel like that's what we were talking. I want to say it was an episode that Siebes was on, and I kind of remember us like saying we were talking about. So, matter of fact, let me ask you this question before I make this point: is this the Filoni culmination movie or a separate movie? Okay, all right,
it's a separate movie. Why would they?
Right,
why would they not announce that?
You're right. But I remember, I'm vaguely positive Siebes was on this episode, but I kind of remember us saying, matter of fact, I know for a fact that we said that what if they tried to make the last season a movie, and we kind of were like, how are they gonna fit? Like, it's coming as I'm saying it, more memories coming back.
Yeah.
We were saying it was me, you, and Siebes, or it might have been me, you, and Ray. It was me, you, and somebody. But we were saying, like, if they use a movie format as like the setup to the Filoni combined universe, we wouldn't be super mad. But if they try to like cram all of what a season would be into a movie, we wouldn't like that. It might have been about Ahsoka
as well. Why do I feel like I think it was Ray? It really, you know what? It honestly could have been Yali too, because we had her on for an episode of Mando, and I think that there's one of us brought it up. Either way,
I remember it was Ray, and we were talking about Ahsoka season 2, whether or not we would want it to be like the movie be her season 2 or have her own season 2. And we were saying, like, if they do a season 2 and it's only for the purposes of setting up the movie, then there's no point. But if you're gonna like do the thing, do the thing. I feel the exact same way about this. I'm not the biggest fan. Hey,
here's my only. I think the pro to this is
the budget.
Yeah, well, the budget goes up, and then also you can put it in theaters and make money off of the one Star Wars property that's really working for you right now, The Mandalorian, right?
Disney's
and if it was like
Disney.
maybe like a midpoint for this whole Mando timeline, I could see it. Something significant would have to happen, though, and I wouldn't want it to be called Season 4. Like, it would have to be like this very specific event that kind of launches all of the other shows into their next seasons to help us get to Filoni's movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I also I really like that of not calling it season 4. I think that's the thing that's my bugaboo. Like, if they're gonna like supplant season 4 in place of a movie, I don't really like that. But if you're just doing like a Mando movie and it just happens to be after the events of season 3, I'm okay with that. Like, don't call it season 4 though, or like say like you just said, because I don't know. I guess it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like if they were just to say like, oh, we're making a Mando movie, I'd have been hype as shit. I'd just like, oh fuck, Mando on the big screen, let's go. But for them to be like, oh, we're making a movie instead of season 4, I'm like, I don't want that. Oh, no, why can't we do both?
Exactly. Yeah. Like we should be getting another season of Mando. I think there's like so much storytelling.
So much.
Listen, I'm not going to act like every single one of these episodes is a mini movie, but there are a few of them that kind of feel like it. Like the season 2 premiere of Mando, they even did the thing where they fucking extended the screen as if it was like the IMAX ratio when they fight the Crate Dragon. That episode is very cinematic. It flows kind of like a movie.
Yeah.
And so do some of the season finales of these shows. Like I would say that Ahsoka's season finale very much felt like, if you had paired it with the previous 2 episodes, could have 100% been a movie, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you have to kind of like weigh the pros and cons of doing this. Like, yeah, it might get you more money, but ultimately, if you put together a really good show, you're also getting tons of people to subscribe to Disney Plus, and there's not a lot of people who are doing just a 1 month to watch a whole show when it's over. So I feel like there are like 2 different streams of revenue. So if you do a movie, it has to be like, I want something significant to happen. You'd have to like kill Grogu, which I know is a big no-no, but like at the same time, it's like, what could be big enough that you do a movie and not end the story?
Yeah, and I feel like at least from my perspective, if this movie, assuming that this movie would take place and maybe, unless it ends on like a cliffhanger to lead into like the Filoniverse United movie, like you're kind of stepping on your own release. Like, why would you put out a movie before your big movie? Like it kind of like robs it of like the specialness of like, oh, all these shows culminated into this mega mashup event that's only in theaters. Like doing a Mando movie, I'm like, unless it literally ends on a cliffhanger that, like you said, something major happens at the end that like would directly on some Infinity War into Endgame shit going to, I don't get the logic. I get the business side of it. I don't get like the creative aspect. Like y'all have been teasing this mega mashup movie for a while now. Like why would you put something else out ahead of that? Especially Mando, because like you said, that property's been fucking busting. That's been the workhorse of Disney Star Wars for years at this point. So it's like, people are going to get excited. They're going to buy in. They're going to go see it. It's going to like take on its life of its own. If it's a Filoni movie, I'm sure it's going to be an amazing movie. Then it's kind of like, oh yeah, we got this other one coming out too. Cool. I'll go see that. It robs the excitement of the mega mashup movie for me. Cause it's like, you're not about to just phone in a Mandalorian movie. You're going to make it dope as fuck. So I'm like, ooh, that was awesome. Oh yeah, we got another one. That's like icing on the cake, I guess. If you get what I'm saying, like it doesn't make the ending movie, because I know, aren't they saying like that movie's supposed to kind of be like the culmination of the Filoniverse, like a Mando, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. That's like the end.
That's definitely like the vibe that they were giving it, and like that's I do agree with you. And I'm thinking, like, if they were to do a movie and it's not like the Filoni movie that they talked about at Celebration, it has to also, I think, maybe end some characters' arcs so that you can focus on what's coming forward, or that's like really introduce a ton of people to Thrawn because they didn't all watch Ahsoka, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Is that significant enough to have a movie about it? And is it worth putting in theaters? And maybe they were testing the waters with the Ahsoka Episode 5 event, right?
Man, shit went well to me.
I was gonna say, I loved seeing Star Wars on the big screen. That was the first time
I enjoyed myself.
I hadn't thought that far ahead, but of course, can you get me an Ahsoka T-shirt? Yeah.
For the morning, like to sleep.
Hell yeah. Put an Annie on it? I'll be okay.
We just had seasons. What do you think I'm going to give you a movie?
And then just leave?
and just leave. we had missed our pillow talking reference last week.
Yeah, this is an inadvertent advertisement for Peanut, which is coming out. I don't know if you saw.
Is it really? Actually, I thought you were just going with the show.
Songs, apparently. All songs from the show.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, I need
that Brad Pitt song on there, bro.
I know, right? Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
I need that Brad Pitt song on there.
I want the whole version of Jail.
Facts.
Anyways, if this is your first time listening to any review, okay, we're big fans of Lil Dicky.
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast. Thank you, Matt.
I got you, brother. Shout out to Jeremy.
Shout out to Jeremy.
Our boy.
Sandalwood and lemon, because apparently I keep saying lavender and I'm fucking it up.
Lemon
Rachel
and
is giving me shit. Actually, I got a bone to pick right now. I have a
pick that bone.
Tangent podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ray the Ruiner, as you know, my fiance.
Ray the Ruiner.
She's a great guest here on the podcast, but she made an offhanded joke about another podcast that she likes called The Basement Yard. I'm sure you've heard of them if you're listening to this podcast. They're kind of like own the podcast space.
For the fans, if you want to tell them what that is.
It's two white dudes that live in New York and yell at each other in the basement.
Bet.
It is very funny. Very funny. But she said in a group chat that I was in, they're the only straight white dudes that should have a podcast. And I said,
read the room, Ray.
I said, excuse me? I'm a straight white dude. And should I have a podcast? Probably not, but I have one anyway.
A Star Wars podcast at that.
Blow up my spot, and she's been on it. I think
that's what multiple times. Multiple times. That's barbaric as shit.
I know. Anyways, go listen to Matt and Trav, two black people who have their own podcasts.
Two straight black
people. They have it's called Dragon Ball for Life. You may have heard of it.
Oh, life. Dote on Ray.
I almost dote on Ray. I was like,
I mean, look, we are equal opportunity dote on Rayers around here. Oh man, but yeah, I really actually like what you just said about if they do the Mando movie, you kind of have to clip some wings for some characters, because like if the mega mashup movie is supposed to be Mando, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, that's a lot of characters that you have to give equal and important, meaningful screen time to. So it would behoove them to kill some people before we get to the movie. And we've been talking about where we are getting closer and closer to closing the gap between the point where we're finally caught up and all we could do is move forward with, like the Rey movie and stuff. So it's like, and a lot of these heavy hitters aren't in the sequel trilogy. So we need some valid explanations as to why they didn't help out or where the fuck they was at when the First Order was forming. You just sitting on your sabers, doing a lot of nothing, sitting on your Beskar butts, doing nothing.
So it's funny you bring that up, because an idea I guess I have for the movie is to talk about, or like the movie would have to, I think if it's The Mandalorian, it should probably center on the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan and the group that's living on Mandalore right now, and why like maybe they aren't part of the conflict. Maybe it ends up being a story that more focuses on them instead of Din, and brings Thrawn into the conflict and gives him a vested interest in wanting to go after Grand Admiral Thrawn. Because at this point in time, I don't think that the Mandalorians' focus is on destroying the Empire. It was more on reclaiming their home.
Right.
So what is their interest in joining the fight at this point?
That's a very good point. I mean, I guess the through line would be Moff if he's still alive, because I guess I remember you had mentioned, and I love the idea of like Moff and Thrawn fighting, and I guess whoever wins turns into the First Order, or like the what comes out of the ashes, the First Order. But I mean, that conflict would have to start somewhere. Maybe it starts with reluctant allies, and then they kind of friends become enemies, enemies become friends. Richard for the story. So maybe that's how they come into into cahoots with one another, which would be a reason for the Mandalorians to cross paths with Thrawn, because that's like a common enemy, and then they could Thrawn and Moff can end up not wanting to work together because who's the boss and who's in charge and who's following orders, and then they fall apart. And then First Order and Snoke and all that fun shit. We need answers. Moral of the story.
And the thing is that everything you said, I'm totally on board with. But it sounds more like a season of television than it does a movie, right?
1000%.
Like, so at the end of the day, if we want to talk about the validity of this, I don't think it's a thing. I think it's a really shoddy rumor.
Where did this come from? Where did the rumor come from, by the way?
Multiple, like, discussing film type accounts, like, not the, like, fake ones, but, like, it was just, like, thrown out there. There's a couple of, like, comic book scoopers that I feel like every once in a while they try and get in on, like, the Star Wars stuff, and I feel like 90% of the time same group of people who are like, oh, the Acolyte's getting canceled, and I was like, no, it's not, and lo and behold, the Acolyte is not getting canceled.
On the way.
So yeah, I think this is one of those things where it's like, it's just, why would they do it? I think all you are doing is hampering your stories that are working really well for you on Disney Plus. And you need to focus on, like, really fleshing out this universe. And personally, maybe selfishly, I guess, Star Wars to me works better as a TV show anyway.
Yeah. And I don't know any Star Wars, what, like, do you know offhand, and I'm sure we could look this up, like, what the longest Star Wars movie was?
Yeah, like, The Last Jedi clocks in at like 2.5 hours, I think, or 2.9 or something.
That movie did feel
Attack
really
of the
long.
Clones is the next longest, I believe.
Is it really? That movie feels short. It doesn't feel very long.
You know what it is? It's everything that leads up to the, like, third act, and the third act is forever. But it's good because it moves fast, because 2 hours and 32 minutes for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, like when Obi-Wan first gets on Geonosis, that shit does drag, because he, like, gets caught, has the whole conversation with Dooku, then they gotta break him out, and the conveyor belt.
The droid factory scene.
Yeah, that shit is long as shit.
Into the, like, kiss in the cave, going into the arena, and then the arena scene is long before the Jedi even show up, and then you have the whole fight in the arena before the clones even show up.
Yeah, no, that's facts. But the reason why I had asked that question is, and I don't know if it's a content thing, but, like, I don't know if I necessarily would want to see a 3-hour Star Wars movie, which then again, you're hampering yourself on how much you can do for each of these heavy hitters in movie format. Like, unless you're about to make it a really long movie, and I don't say it couldn't be done. I mean, that could turn into a whole conversation in and of itself. Like, what makes for movies that can be long as shit, like Lord of the Rings or Endgame and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I just don't feel like the Star Wars genre is made for that type of long exposure. Like, I feel like it'd be like sensory overload.
Really fair statement. I think I'm in the minority of people who feel like when I went to see Endgame, it could have been a half hour longer, and I just wouldn't have cared. But it was because we had built so much up into that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was smart that they took Infinity War and had it be its own thing, and essentially split the movie in half, if you really think about it.
Yeah, big facts.
In a lot of ways, both movies do heavy lifting. So it's just
there's a constant debate on which one's better, and a case could be made for both. Strong case could be made for both.
No,
I feel like I teeter. I feel like I teeter back and forth. Honestly, like I feel like it depends on the day.
Yeah, I think Infinity War is the Empire Strikes Back of our generation.
Ooh, I like that.
I just don't think that. How many movies have you walked out of and been like gutted?
Yo, when shout outs to my brother, my brother Jordan, friend of the pod. Me and him saw Infinity War together in the movie theater, and spoiler alert, at the end, after everybody gets dusted and Thanos just like sits on his patio and like it cuts to black, I let out a very audible "what the fuck." I was like, get the fuck out of here. It was very loud. Like, as soon as it like just cut, I was like, get the fuck out of here. But it was like a good get the fuck out of here. But I was just like, that's it, that's the end. I want more. I gotta wait a year. But yeah, I actually really like that a lot. Like that that would be like the Empire of this generation. I will say the only reason, like for me personally, I wouldn't go that route. I mean, I wouldn't, because for me, people might kill me. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, as I got from you. I love it. For me, there's a big drop off in rewatch value from Empire to Return. Like, big drop off. Like, I can throw on Empire and just have that shit on as ambient noise and be fine. But like Return, I really have to want to watch that movie to put it on. Like, I'd be like, you know what? I haven't watched Return. I mean, like, I would never watch that movie just cause.
That's definitely a preference thing, I think, because there are a few Star Wars movies that I'm like, people are like, how? Like, I don't like A New Hope as much as everybody else does.
No, I'm right with you.
Started it all.
I'm rolling with you. I think from my like pre getting into movies and like the nuance and like filmmaking and stuff, Return was probably my favorite Star Wars, like of the trilogy before the prequels came out. But I feel like as a kid, you always like the last. Like, we all thought that Secret of the Ooze was better than the first one as children, and then you watch that shit back when you have sense. You're like, ew, this movie fucking sucks. You know?
Like, false. I still love Secret of the Ooze.
I do like Secret of the Ooze, but like
the first TMNT is really good.
So in order, it's 1, 2, 3. Like in terms of like how good they are. But like I feel like as kids, we looked at it as 3, 2, 1. Like the most recent one was always the best.
Was always the best. Yeah. I remember loving Turtles in Time and then going.
Yo, facts. What Yoshi? Like I did too. Like, you watch that shit as an adult, it does not hold up. But like the first Ninja Turtles movie, I still watch that shit. Like literally to this day. Like, I'll throw that on.
I lost my son.
Damn, I lost it. I can get it back. Then it is lost. Hey, where you going? To a movie. Is that okay with you?
I always fuck up this quote, but forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Wise men say that forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. I actually want to get that tattooed one day. I'm going to. It is. I love that. I love that scene too. But what was you saying? Oh yeah. With Endgame and Infinity War, again, it's for me, it's like 1 and 1A. Like, not of my favorite Marvel movies, but just of those two. I don't think it's like, oh, this is my one, this is my. It literally switches. Like, it alternates. Because like anytime I feel like you know what? This one is better, I'll think of something in the other one. I'm like, damn, that did happen in the other one. And I literally go back and forth. But I
love so many things about Infinity War, but I didn't nerd squeal in Infinity War, and I definitely didn't Endgame.
Yeah, facts. I will. It's so tricky. We won't. We'll get stuck here.
It's a whole nother podcast.
We'll get stuck here.
Find a way. Yeah, we have to come back to Star Wars. Anyways, Mando movie
Star Wars podcast.
In Mike's opinion, not good. In Matt's opinion,
not good.
The floor is yours. Not good.
Not good. Not good.
Let's just hope this isn't true. And if we're both wrong, well, then it better be a fucking good ass movie. Is all I have to say.
My caveat would be the only way that I will. Like, all right, cool, bet, is if it is on some Infinity War, not lengthwise, but just like, oh, this is the tee to the tee up for the mega mashup movie. And I don't want them to consider it season 4. Just let it be a Mando movie that's in the continuity and just have it be that.
Pull in characters from all the shows and have it propel them all into whatever scenes are next for them.
Yeah, literally be the Infinity War to Filoni's Endgame. Pun intended.
Yeah, and it's
double entendre. Don't mess me out.
If we're looking at it as like phase 1, quote unquote, then I need this to be the first Avengers, right? Or an Age of Ultron, if you will, and then we'll get our big movie later. But yeah, I don't
understand why people hate that movie. To make another Marvel aside, I love Age of Ultron. I don't know why it gets so much hate.
There's some good things in it. James Spader as Ultron is amazing. I don't care what anybody says.
1000%. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If they're gonna do it, I would love to also see a lot of the other characters that are going to be in the mega mashup movie.
Pull Cobb Vanth out of the back to tank. Yeah. Throw Ezra Bridger in there. Like, you know, I'm fine with that.
I think you convinced me that I would like a movie only if they do that. Like if it's literally just like the pre-movie to the mega mashup, so like all the other maybe not everybody. Maybe you could save some. Maybe like Ahsoka would only be in the mega mashup. Maybe she don't need to be in Mando. But yeah, I would love to see like Ezra or Cobb or Boba. Obviously, would make sense for Boba Fett to be in the Mandalorian movie. Have them characters start to develop what they're gonna end up doing in the mega mashup, so we don't got to do all this setup work. Like just get into the shits. Like just jump in. But yeah, I'd be cool with that. But again, I don't want it to just like replace season 4 at all.
Yeah, no, like, we need. You've started telling this story as a very like, the chapters, they all lead you somewhere in season 1 and season 2 more so. In season 3, you started building on other characters. Like, I do not want to just be like 3 hours called a day, and we'll see you in 2 years. Like, I need a full season.
I don't want that at all. No. I think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, and if also commonplace with Star Wars shows, each season that gets added onto a Star Wars show, I feel like does a really good job of world building and taking storylines that have started and starts weaving them together and branching them out. So, I just don't want them unless something major happens in the movie. I just don't think it's the right move, and I don't even think that this rumor's true. But I guess time will tell.
Time shall tell.
On a different note, still past the original
Speaking
trilogy.
Of character development.
Yeah, character development. Adam Driver, who was on SNL this past Saturday, I guess was doing his media block, his tour, and he happened to go on Rich Eisen's podcast, and he was talking about. He said that the plan was not always for the redemption of Ben Solo, and that the character was supposed to get progressively darker. This falls in line with the leaked Colin Trevorrow script for Episode 9, which was titled Duel of the Fates. We're just going to discuss like the outcome, how it resonated with us individually, and maybe like, I guess, Matt, for you, I know you said that there are things that you do like and don't like. We can certainly discuss portions of that. If you're interested in the leaked Colin Trevorrow script, we'll throw New Rockstars did a great breakdown of this script. Yes. And also another podcast I enjoy, Mr. Sunday Movies. They have a really fun animated retelling of it, and those guys are hilarious. So we'll throw those links in the description. So if you don't know about it at all, maybe take a chill pill. Go watch some other content, and then come back to us on the rest of your commute, and we'll talk about it. But
so we can get the stream, just like mute us and let it finish, and then just remember where you stop, so you can just come back.
Yeah. But Adam Driver's not, saying straight up that the plan wasn't for Ben Solo's redemption. I'll give the floor to you to tell me, how you feel about it, what part of that really like speaks to you or doesn't speak to you, and do you think that they made a mistake by not leaning into it, or do you think that getting to see Ben Solo on screen was worth it for you?
So I sing Adam Driver's praises like regularly. Like I enjoy him quite a bit. But and we've talked about this, me, you, and Ray the Ruiner. I hate the kissing cousin aspect of Rise of Skywalker. That whole romantic connection between him and Ray came out of super left field in my mind, was super unnecessary. So that part of it kind of killed his turn to the light side. I really liked what he was saying about him kind of like diving deeper into madness, and I kind of feel like it fits. See, this is so tricky because where Last Jedi fits in, because Last Jedi did a lot of undoing of Force Awakens, and then Rise of Skywalker did a lot of redoing what Last Jedi undid. So it's really hard for me to say definitively where his descent into darkness would have kicked in, if that makes sense. From Force Awakens, I get it. He lost. Han. Yeah, it's killing Han. It's losing to a novice. It's Snoke saying yo, you're a bitch. I thought you were the one. What's going on? And then Hux poking at the bear, like, aha, you got in trouble with dad. So it's just like, that makes sense. But then Last Jedi, they gave him like a semi-redemption. He kills Snoke. He's like, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna be the Grand Admiral and all that fun shit and everything. So it's like, it's hard to see where that would have come into from Last Skywalker. And that's one of those things like we might never know, you know, like what the plan would have been had it been one director or one cohesive vision.
Can I, to steal our executive producer's phrase, respectfully challenge you?
Oh, please.
Do you not think that him killing Snoke just to ask Rey to join him on the dark side and destroy everything else was not another step towards the darkness? Like, did that not... Do you feel like it feels like he saved Rey just to fill the power vacuum for himself. And that to me feels like a logical step.
I would say yes 1,000% if so much didn't happen after that. Like, he did the most, like with going to the Diamond Fox planet and went in to fight Luke's projection. Like, I feel like he was humanized a lot after that. Like, had he just killed Snoke and like, I don't know, fucking maybe put the helmet back on or just like, you know, been like more brooding and, you know, like, oh, I'm in charge now. I'd have been like, yeah, the descent into madness, and now he's in charge and he can like curate the universe in his vision. That would have been a great place for him to like be on, like how Anakin was in Revenge of the Sith, like justice for my new empire. Like, that would have been a really great cracking point. You know, he wanted to be his grandfather. That I would have loved to see a speech like that, you know, but then it's just like when everything else that happened after that and you got to see him be like a little whiny brat, it took away from like his scariness. Like,
right. His anger almost took away the validity of his, like, had he done all of that connection with Rey leading up to that moment, and then he reveals afterwards that like this was his plan from the start. Snoke thought he was in his head, but in reality,
that would have been
he was
great,
pulling the strings the whole time. Then I feel like you're right. Like, maybe it would have made a little more sense. But instead, what you do get is you have a temper tantrum.
They humanized him. He wasn't this big Sith overlord anymore. He was the abandoned nephew who like desperately wanted his uncle's approval. Like, and you saw that, and it was just like, oh, this is the big bad now. Like, like,
yeah, and it feels like that's more in line for like someone like Hux, right?
Yeah,
and not so much him.
Yeah, and Hux kind of, his temperament would have been better suited for what Kylo should have been when he took over. Like, Hux was very militant and like, do as I say and this and very snarky and condescending and all that stuff. Where Ben is just like, and I get the whole point. I was like, oh, he's a Skywalker, you know, he always has the pull to the light and he'll always like be battling it. But it really, they just made him a child after they did that dope ass fight scene in the throne room and everything. Like, they just reverted him back into the child that Luke fucking tried to kill in his sleep and just all the anger. So it was like, it made it hard for me to see him as like a Darth Vader-esque character, which it seems that they would have tried to do in this original skit. They would have had to do a lot of, have him do some real unscrupulous, vicious shit to like undo the temper tantrum that he had, like with the whole keep firing and all that shit and everything. And I was like, no, we got him. I was like, no, keep, like, he literally threw a fit. He threw a fit. So, yeah. But I would again, it's hard because we're speaking in, it's hard for me to like separate where I would put the descent, because it's like, was this script still in place even after Rian Johnson, like after like Last Jedi came out, or was this like pre them switching directors for like the second movie?
So it was like, so they ended up going in a different direction after they got the script, but the script was also turned in a week before Carrie Fisher died.
Okay, so Last Jedi was already out.
They were kind of in turmoil. Yeah, Last Jedi had like just come out.
Okay, so I guess that was my question. Was this
she died before? Sorry, she died before Last Jedi came out. period.
Right. That I remember.
So this script was done before. So I guess The Last Jedi was in post-production. And this was like where they were going to take it. But they, at the time of writing it, did not know that Carrie was going to be gone. So
Got it.
That also probably factored into their decision, where they were like, oh, this doesn't do enough, or we don't have enough archival footage to pay homage to Carrie as a person and Leia as a character. And I feel like that, no offense to Carrie Fisher, because obviously love her dearly, but I feel like they put too much weight on that, shifting their decisions.
I was gonna say I feel like they've said in interviews before that, you know, the original trilogy, obviously all of this is like the story of the Skywalker family, but like I vaguely remember hearing things that like the sequel trilogy was like Leia's trilogy. Like it was like she was kind of like how Luke would have, obviously Rey's like the main character, but like Leia was supposed to be kind of like the driving force for a lot of this. Like she was like going to be.
I do know
like
for a fact that it was like planned out, where it was Han's movie was The Force Awakens, Luke's movie was The Last Jedi, and the ninth movie, whichever one it was supposed to be Leia's.
Okay.
Right. So
gotcha.
each
So that must be what I'm talking about.
Character was supposed to have a role to play.
Got it.
You know, in each of them. But obviously Carrie's passing definitely heavily affected kind of like where they chose to move from there. To a fault in a way. I actually I think my biggest criticism of Rise of Skywalker is that like I can tell that the scenes are like lifted around her dialogue, and it was like it's not well done. Like you can tell Rey is acting against like a tennis ball.
Yeah.
Or Daisy Ridley. You know what I mean?
Yes, or a stand-in. Yeah, I got you.
And she's like, never underestimate a droid. And it's like, okay, that was really random. Like, you just wrote the scene around that.
Around that line. Like,
yeah.
We got to use what we got. type thing. Nah, I feel that. Well, then, yeah, I guess that makes my thoughts on this a bit more muddy. Because that was my question was going to be, was this original script made based off of what had happened in Last Jedi? Because then I guess that still brings back my initial confusion. It's like, I don't know. And obviously the breakdown that Voss did was just kind of like an outline of what the movie should have been. So there would have been like deeper details. I guess I would have just needed something really dark to happen very early in the movie for me to now see him as like the credible thing. And I did only watch the video like one time, and it was like on my lunch break, but he wasn't Endgame, right? Like he kind of like when they were saying like, oh, he gets extinguished, I feel like that was like halfway through Voss's breakdown. Like, so didn't he kind of like get snuffed out like early-ish in the movie? Not early-ish, but
he does end up being like the big bad, but there is like a Sith. There's like a presence of like the Sith that was like Palpatine's, like the one that like taught Palpatine most of the things that he knew, even outside.
Yeah, I remember they said like take him to see my teacher and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that is what eventually. That's what like kind of like leads him down the path. But I think he does end up being like the ultimate adversary.
Okay.
But what ultimately I think happens in the script is there's the uprising on Coruscant of like
that would have been that. I would have loved like that whole concept of like Coruscant being like what was Coruscant is like a fucking dystopia, like fucked up place where like refugees live, and it's like all rusted, and then like Hux would have just had like this floating castle in the sky. I thought that was fire. That would have been great. And Finn like leading the uprising from the people down, but it's our time down here. I feel like that would have been amazing. I was like really like, damn, I wish they would have did that.
I think that the biggest takeaway from the Colin Trevorrow script, other than Adam Driver like not having Ben Solo not be redeemed, is the fact that every other character other than maybe Poe gets a lot more to do in this movie as opposed to what we got in Rise of Skywalker. I
mean, the fucking movie opens up with Rose and BB-8. And Rose was like nowhere to be found in the Rise of Skywalker.
To quote Carson Teva himself, fuck, I can't remember. He was on like a podcast, and he was. Why can't I remember the actor's name? But either way, he pretty much said that they made her do homework. And it's like, that is what they made her do. They made her like study Star Destroyers. That's fucking lame.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was like to shield her from more backlash, or if it was just like some top executive was like, people hate Rose, don't put her in the movie much. And they were like, we can't not put her in the movie. And they're like, well, then have her fucking be in it for all 5 minutes.
She got Gohan, that fan popularity poll. Her numbers was low, and they sat her ass down. Because she was definitely like, she was primed to be Finn's love interest from in Last Jedi.
That's how it felt to me. Yeah,
and then
or like there might be like some sort of love triangle, because I always thought that Finn and Rey had slightly romantic ties.
And then they fucking made her kiss her cousin.
So I would have rather that than. And everyone would have rather Finn and Poe get together, apparently. That's what the internet will tell you.
Facts. Fan fiction, baby.
The lifeblood of fandoms.
And then they like gave us like Lando's maybe not daughter. Like, and now Finn likes her. Like, okay. Like, sure. I thought that was so weird too. Like, not her just popping up, but it's just like, you give us this girl, you literally give us all the teases that this might be Lando's daughter randomly, and just it goes nowhere. Like,
there's so many plot points in that movie that go unresolved, and it's like, listen, I'm not asking you to like tie everything up with a bow, but it was just like Finn never told Rey what he was trying to tell her when they're seeking through the sand, and then you have that whole thing with Jan, who's like, well, let's go find your family, and it's like, okay, I don't like. I've known this character for all of 3 seconds. Like, why do I care?
Why do I care?
It's nothing against the actors too. Like, I
feel
have
that.
to say, it's like
they're just doing what they can do with what they were given. So like, but I love. Thank you for bringing that up. The Finn trying to tell Rey that he's force sensitive. I thought that was the weirdest time. Like, that makes no sense in a real world setting. Like, trying to like watch this objectively, why would that be the moment that he would want to have told her that one thing? It just felt really weird. Like, there's something I always wanted to tell you. Like, that's just like, I feel like that wouldn't have went down like that. And like, if Star Wars was a real world, because, you know, even though it's a fantasy show, like, it is based, it's like they're humans. Like, there's some realism to it. I just always felt like you're sinking in quicksand. Not once as you're dropping, you wait till the shit's at your neck to say something. Like, when it's at your ankles, and you go in there, you could have been like, hey, I'm force sensitive. And even the tee up, like, yo, we short on time, and you want to like give me this prerequisite for what you're about to say. Just say it, bro. Like, right before it's too late, there's something I need to tell you that I've always wanted to tell you, and it's been a secret, and I never knew what to tell you, but oh shit, I'm out of time.
And as Rey sinks into the quicksand, she's like, oh my gosh, was he about to tell me that he loves me?
1000%. That's how they made that scene. Is really weirdly worded. Like, there's something I always wanted to tell you.
Yeah, it was
what?
So yeah, like, I guess the Finn uprising storyline just should have been. It could have been way stronger, and it feels like it was like half-assed in The Rise of Skywalker.
I also love the fact that it would have opened up with, you know, we'll call them the core four, because I feel like Rose was queued up to be like the fourth member of their trio. Yeah, I love that it gave them a mission together without the rebellion, because it's like, one of my biggest gripes, and I have many with Rise of Skywalker, is how they tried to force on us that Rey, Finn, and Poe are three best friends. It's like Poe and Rey never had a conversation before. So it's like, I get that there's like a gap of time between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker where they like have all been getting to know each other and running missions for the rebellion. But it's just like when they all got reunited and did like that triple hug, I gave no fucks. Like I didn't have any emotional investment. Like, oh, they're reunited, because it was like Poe and Rey aren't friends, or at least they haven't been. Like, but now you're trying to feed me that the three of them are like when they was on the whatever planet that they were on, trying to figure out like the next game plan for Exegol and shit, and like Rey and Poe started like butting heads and like doing like, oh, like we should try this, and oh no, we should do that, and it was just like, this ain't their dynamic. They don't even know each other. Like, why are you talking to her like that?
Yeah, and I think a part of that is because The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are like back to back. That's I really enjoy The Last Jedi as a film. There are obviously parts of it that are not great. The other parts of it I think are really, really good. But the lack of time jump between the movies is what really kills it for me, because now there's no time period where you could put in these connective tissue stories that make the thing so much better. Like, well,
there's a gap between Last Jedi and Rise, right? Because like Rey had to be trained.
Only a year. It's only a year, right? And it's like, don't get me wrong, a lot can happen in a year, but like,
yeah, especially you in war with somebody, you get to know them pretty well. But it's like, you don't feel it. And I think to kind of go along and hold on to your thought, because I want you to finish what you're saying. I guess to go along with like in the sequel trilogies, in the prequel trilogies, we have a change in actor that like lets us feel the gravity of the time change, or change in appearance. Like Obi goes from like the gross mullet and the patchy beard to the Alec Guinness cut with the full luxurious beard. Anakin grows his hair long, has the scar. So it's like you feel the time skip that has like taken place. But like with the sequel trilogies, other than Finn having twisties now, everyone literally looks the same. Like everybody, the same clothes. Rey goes back to her Force Awakens like triple bun thing. So it's just like it fit. And because we're so used to literally Force Awakens and Last Jedi just literally steamroll right into each other, like where Force ends, Last Jedi starts. It kind of makes you feel that way for Rise of Skywalker. Like, oh, this is like the next day. It's like, when the fuck did y'all become the bestest of friends? Yeah. Like, that's Finn's homie. Hey, Rey, you don't even know this boy. He ain't give you a jacket. Like, what is happening here? Yeah, but yeah, I hated that hug when at the end when they got to like reunite and like group hug. I hated that moment. Like, that shit felt so forced, and it was like, I feel like that was for the actors, like, because obviously they've spent time together outside of the films, like
that's definitely part of it. There's so much of
it was for them
scene that just doesn't make sense, like Chewie getting a medal, like that was just like so unnecessary in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm rolling.
But
did he get a medal in New Hope? After they blew up so that was why.
And that's like a big thing. Like, fans have been complaining about that for years, so it was like, okay, I get it. Like, but
they owed him one.
It was a little too meta for me. I was like, I don't fucking, you don't need to do this. Listen, there are parts of that movie that I still really enjoy, and I will say this: I like Palpatine coming back, but it's a problem only because they didn't build to it in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Palpatine has returned.
somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yo, like, when I tell you in the movie theater, when that was like the first thing in the ticker, I immediately was like, this movie's about to piss me off. I can feel it. I can feel it. I was like, really? This is how y'all tell us he's back? Okay. Like,
right.
Cool.
And I'm not like, I love Ian McDiarmid. I think the Emperor is a great villain. But you could have led up into that. Like, there could have been crumbs along the way. And there just wasn't. You could tell that obviously wasn't the plan. So that's what that suffers from. But since they chose to redeem Kylo Ren, having Ben Solo face down the Knights of Ren was exciting. However,
no context.
All we have seen are cool shots of the Knights of Ren,
right,
in all three movies. Had we known that they were more formidable foes, or if maybe there was someone on the Knights of Ren who was butting heads with Kylo, the way Hux butt heads with Kylo.
Are they Force sensitive? Or are they not Force sensitive?
Right. Like, yeah. So like that's all part of it, where it's just like, oh, and all of a sudden they're aligned to Palpatine instead of him. Like, when, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, feels like it's kind of thrown together at the end there in a way that doesn't do any character justice.
Yeah, I would love, and I know it's too late. I would love if they were to do, even if they did like a series, I think that'd be dope. Call it Ben Solo. Like, I would love to have like a live action version of the canon comic. So like how he like met the Knights of Ren and who they are and all that shit. Cause like those comics were dope. They were dope as fuck. And they were like very informative and had a lot of shit, even from like the original trilogy and prequel shit that like it made shit that I didn't even know that I didn't really understand that. But now this helps me get it more. So I would love like if Adam Driver, cause I mean he ages well, he looks good, like still looks the same. I would love it. He'd be like, yeah, let's do a little Ben Solo, a little prequel series, just like put this in live action. Cause I really liked the concept of the Knights of Ren, and I was like, when Last Jedi ended, I just knew we was about to get a Knights of Ren backstory, or like we was gonna like get more of them. At least hear them fucking talk. We didn't even get here. They don't even have voices.
They share no dialogue. Like it's wild, man. I don't know. It just, they sold a lot of toys in The Force Awakens, and that was what they were meant for. Just like Captain Phasma, and it's just like I'll say it here. We said it at the beginning of this episode. Talking
such
about
a
the Mando
waste
movie.
of a character, bro.
I'm gonna say it fucking again. Star Wars is just better in a TV format. Like these world building type, the cinematic universes, the world building type, like things. Like Matt, you watch Lord of the Rings. They're long movies as they are. They have extended editions. And you feel like the journey is more rich because of the time you spend with them throughout those longer versions of the films.
I only watch the extended editions.
There you go. Because it's a very breathed and lived in universe. It was the one thing where it's like, I listen, this is going to be a little hypocritical because I will say that The Hobbit didn't need to be 3 movies.
It should only been 2.
There are so many stories to tell in Tolkien's universe that like you can have it be longer, and maybe that's what like the Rise of Skywalker and the sequel trilogy as a whole suffered from, is that at the time those movies were coming out, we had the MCU, which had a 22 film build up into the culmination of a saga, whereas Star Wars had 6 previous movies that were spread out between 1977 and 2019.
Exactly.
It's not the same type of build up. And there's so much time spread between those movies that it's like, if 1 through 9 all focused on Rey, Finn, and Poe, then maybe it would have had like a bigger impact, but it just didn't. So, and half the original trilogy actors were like barely in it to begin with. Yeah,
and kind of just going back to what I was saying before, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, and like maybe you could like help me fish it out of my brain or just help me uncover it. I don't feel like Star Wars movies are made for like long term, like long run times. Like, and maybe because, oh, you know what? I think I'm getting somewhere. I feel like Lord of the Rings works for being so long because like, even though there's magic, the movies are grounded. Like, you know, it's in Middle Earth. We stay in Middle Earth. Yes, we travel, but it's like, we're not outside of the Eagles, and like, there aren't spaceships. There isn't like aliens and different races. It's hobbits, men's, orcs. It's grounded. On foot. Yeah, and it's fantastical.
It's literally grounded, not
like,
figuratively grounded.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like literally grounded and like in kind of a vacuum chamber, because like even though Middle Earth is a big place, it's one location, where Star Wars is we're going to different planets. The outer rim, the inner rim, the mid rim, like it's like we're traveling all over the place. There's spaceships, there's Jedi, there's so much that goes on. It's like Star Wars in itself is an experience. For me, a 3-hour Star Wars movie would be like going to Six Flags and staying there all day. Like eventually, like I done rid all the rides. Like I'm ready to go now. Like, all right, it's too much. Like it'd be too much. And I feel like, like with fucking, like Michael Bay movies, like, you know, he's not out here trying to fucking, you know, be a tour de force. Like he wants to blow shit up summer blockbuster style. Like, and I feel like Star Wars to an extent is that. Yes, it's rich in story, and we have connections to these characters, and we do see growth like in the film. But it's like Star Wars is very fast paced. Like it's like bloop, 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 bloop. All right, on to the next thing. Where like
I mean,
Lord of the Rings.
George's favorite direction was faster and more intense.
Yeah, 1,000%. So it's like that's those types of films or that type of like storytelling. It's supposed to like keep you on the edge of your seat. Like you don't really want to sit back and start. And I feel like that was a lot of people's gripes with the prequel trilogy before they grew to love it, is like all the political shit that's in it. A lot of people just like, oh, more politics, more scheming, more separatist shit. I just want laser fights.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it produced a more quality story. It's like
1,000%.
The sequel trilogy, in a lot of ways, is just like, it almost feels like because you took George out of it. And I'm not saying that George is the only person who can create Star Wars. Obviously, there are other people who've had their hand in making Star Wars movies that have done a very good job, captured the spirit of it, and are doing things. And I don't even mean Filoni. Like, people didn't go see Han Solo, or they didn't go see Solo because it came out at the same time as Infinity War, which was just stupid. They shouldn't have done that. But that movie is fucking fun, and I like
Solo. I saw it in the movie theater.
I'm not crazy about Han Solo. I saw it in the movie theater as well because I love Star Wars. But it was just like, if Solo and Infinity War came out on the same day, I was like, there's no way. Even though I am the biggest Star Wars guy, there was nothing stopping me from seeing Infinity War over a movie about Han Solo, a character I could probably give two shits about in the grand scheme of things, which I know for some people might seem like blasphemy, but that movie is super fucking fun. It captures the essence of Star Wars, and that was, obviously there were a bunch of people who worked on it, but Ron Howard directed it. He did a great job. Rick Famuyiwa, a few episodes of Mandalorian, absolutely killing it. There are other people who can create Star Wars, but it feels like the sequel trilogy was made by a bunch of Disney executives. And I'm not even talking like Kathleen Kennedy. I'm talking like people at the CEO level being like
Bob Iger.
Yeah, the internet doesn't like that, don't do it. The internet doesn't like that, do this. People really like this, make sure that's in there. People really like that, make sure this is in there. And we want to sell toys, so here you go. And then JJ had to work around it. Ryan was like, I'm going to make a good movie regardless, and then got a little preachy. Ended up making some of the best Star Wars and combined with some of the worst Star Wars. And the Rise of Skywalker was just riddled with problems from the get-go because they couldn't come together on creative differences, and they didn't have a plan from the jump, which is what they should have done. But that's how you end up with this. And I really wonder, like, maybe Adam Driver's performance would have been better to round things out here. Had he just gone full dark side, and maybe we got full temper tantrum, Kylo, and like he just leaned into it. Maybe it would have been a more compelling story, which is kind of what I think we've been beating the drum for this, where it's like it doesn't quite matter what's going on like around it. It has to be a compelling story, and you can, in Star Wars, luckily you can fix things later, and we know that, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're not like directly
I like that.
interfering with something, we just want good stories. And I think that Colin Trevorrow's The Duel of Fates could have been one. We'll never know. And there are some things that The Rise of Skywalker does that I like, but I just think that ultimately kind of a lackluster end to the Skywalker saga, all things considered.
Yeah. I actually really, we won't flush it out because this could turn into another 50 minute conversation, but I really like what you just said about leaning more into his temper tantrums and kind of having that be a catalyst for like, oh, he's crazy. Like there's something wrong with him. Like these aren't temper tantrums. He's a psychopath. Because like those are some of my favorite parts of Force Awakens, when he would like freak the fuck out, like when shit didn't go his way. Like I really liked that because you had Snoke, who was like this monotone character, like, and then Hux was like quiet and snarky, and then you had Kylo, who's like, when he has the helmet on, he tries to be stoic and low tempo and talk slow and be methodical, but then when shit don't go his way, he fucking starts cutting up the office. Yeah. Like I when I tell you, so even though it's so short, the Finn Kylo lightsaber fight is probably honestly one of my favorite fights in like all of Star Wars, because it's like, and John Boyega had kind of said this in an interview, and I loved it. He had said that he would put that fight up against any fight in Star Wars, and because of what it meant, he would take it, because he was saying like in the original trilogy, obviously because the 70s and everything, the saber fights were like, it was like stage acting, like like it was very like
fencing than it was
yes. And then with the prequel trilogy, it was like a dance, high choreography, a lot of flourishes, and they were great. Like I said, like the the Battle of the Heroes is my favorite fight, which is also why Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie. So, but with that, it was like, but with that, it was like a lot of choreography. Like it was more so showing like, oh, like when Jedis were in their prime, this is how they gave it up with the sword play. It wasn't just the fencing, but like what John had pointed out, he was like, if you go back and watch the Kylo Finn fight, they're literally just hacking at each other, trying to kill each other. Like there's nothing fancy about that fight. Like they're just like, oh, die. Like I have this weapon that can kill you, die. And they're just like hacking at each other. And I love it. But what I was going to say is I love the scene where Kylo walks up on Finn and Rey in the snow at the end, and he's just like, traitor! Like he just like freaks the fuck out on him. Like, you traitor! Like, I love that part. I was like, he's an immature man child who's trying to like run the universe. And I think that would have been a great aspect to his temper tantrums. Would have been a great aspect to lean into. I think it would have even been cool, like if like force shit happens when he has a temper tantrum that he can't control.
I've loved
like
that
maybe
idea.
Like
I love that
like
idea.
He gets angry and starts like breaking shit. He's like, oh shit, like, and they're like, oh, calm the fuck down, like kind of like how Charles was in Logan, like when he would have his seizures and like people would just die. Like I think that would have been dope. Like when he has like a temper tantrum, like it's like, oh, people start choking up or like things start breaking, shit starts flying around. I think that would have been dope, and it would have like, the progression of that would have been like, oh, this man's fucking crazy. He's not a brat. He's psychotic.
Yeah.
Like that would have been great.
No, I like.
Man, come get us. Come get us, Star Wars.
And the thing is like if you give him something to care about, and like his anger is ultimately what ends up killing it, it kind of mirrors Anakin and Padme.
Yes,
right.
1,000%.
You're right. We could talk for fucking like an additional 15 minutes about this, but I really like what you said there, and I do think that like the one thing the sequel trilogy does right is they balance the choreography with the emotion that is behind the original trilogy to give us some pretty great lightsaber duels. And I know that it's not actually a lightsaber duel, but I do love the Praetorian Guard fight where they're just kind of like going off against.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Hell yes, the best part of the movie.
That whole sequence up to the Holdo maneuver is just perfect.
Big facts.
Like, so I gotta give Ryan a lot of credit for that. But I think ultimately, we'll probably struggle with this for the rest of our lives. Maybe at some point, hopefully, the kids who grew up with the sequel trilogy will be able to have a Clone Wars type show that fleshes things out and like makes the story way more compelling, and are telling me to like hop off my slightly hater band, because I really don't hate them. I think the thing I love the most about the sequel trilogy is the characters. Yeah, and the plot will always feel lackluster to me. But like Finn, Poe, Rey, Kylo, BB-8, like the characters to me feel really strong. It feels like they were let down by the people who were controlling the narrative.
1,000%. I mean, and this Rey movie could be for the sequel trilogies like what Obi-Wan and Clone Wars was for the prequel trilogies. Like it could like enrich the experience. And man, fuck them kids. I want them to give us some shit for the sequel trilogy for us.
Yeah, that's true.
I need closure.
I know. I would love to. I think it's, and the thing is because I like all the characters, I happen to also very much enjoy all the actors who were involved, and it's like, man, like let John Boyega come back and redeem like himself in the Star Wars universe, because he didn't get a chance to do much. And it's a shame, Adam Driver probably won't get that chance, but like I'm glad that Daisy will at least get a chance.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that movie, and I've said before, like for real, minus that minus the roly poly scene in Force Awakens, I love that movie. I that's one of my more favorite Star Wars movies, honestly. Like, I thought that movie, if you take that scene out, one, I feel like that shit was some shit off Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, this is a Guardians of the Galaxy scene.
It does feel a little bit like that.
It felt so out of place, like just that whole scene. Like, so they could have just did that minus the aliens, like have the guys that Han owed money to trying to kill him in the halls of the Falcon. That could have just been that. Like,
I never just made a deal with Conja Club.
Like, yeah, like that could have just been that, them having to like fight off those two different like warring families, like and escaping the Falcon. Like, yeah, take them roly polies out. I loved Force Awakens. It's just the other two. But like you said, hate is a strong word. I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. That's fair. Like, I
quote parenting 101. I'm not mad. Just disappointed.
I'm gonna find something to love about every Star Wars movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But based off of the ones I watch repeatedly, you know which ones I like and which ones I don't like.
Yeah,
I guess the ones I love and the ones that I don't care as much for.
I will say, for as much shit as I give The Last Jedi, it had the greatest scene in Star Wars history, the fucking light speed through the ship.
The whole
greatest scene I've ever seen. Bro, like that shit, I was like, I didn't know that's how you could use light speed, but that's literally
cuts out in the movie theater.
Man,
like, whoa.
Yeah, when I tell you, like, because I saw that in the movie theater with Jordan as well. It's just like a audible, like a gasp, like we're like, oh, wow.
But it's that on top of the fact that like the lightsaber splitting, Finn and Rose are about to get executed, and like all those things like leading up to the same moment, and it's just like that to me is, I know that it took a lot of weird stuff to get to that point, and I wish
that casino planet was the dumbest.
The Canto Bite was like the message behind things. I wish that they had gotten to that point in a different manner.
Yeah.
I also don't like that it's like, we have them tied to the end of a string and they're barely out of our reach. And it's like, dude, if you're literally trying to stamp out the resistance, just send as many fighters as you have and wipe them out. Like, that to me is a weak fucking plot point. So
yeah, and what the fuck was Benicio del Toro in there other than the fact that he's Benicio del Toro? Like,
to just be a fucking, his name is DJ, literally stands for don't join.
Yeah, okay. And we won't get stuck on The Last Jedi because like the whole trying to find the decoder, the hacker, I forget what the code designation. Yeah, the code breaker. They literally never find him, or they don't explain if the Benicio. Well, it's kind of implied that Benicio isn't him, but it's just like that never. It gets resolved, or like
at the same time. I love all of the Luke, Rey, Kylo stuff in that movie. That's some of my favorite Star Wars storytelling.
Yeah, I love the part she was like, "Can you put a shirt on?"
yeah. Like there's so many facets of that part of the story that and the battle on Crate is the most aesthetically pleasing thing in Star Wars. I don't care what your opinion is; it just is. The salt planet with all the red dust,
with the red underneath.
It's the coolest looking like place to have a battle.
Yeah, I enjoyed those old rickety fucking land speeders that they were driving,
like the ski speeders. Yeah, that's amazing.
I fucked with those. Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, the movie's amazing. Like visually, it's chef's kiss. It's just plot wise, the plot of the movie isn't the greatest.
Yeah, it was like, you know how like when you do a sitcom, like a animated sitcom with Family Guy, it's like A plot leads into the B plot, and then in the last 5 minutes it all gets resolved, and then everyone's back in the family room and they're like, wow, what a great adventure, Lois. Like but like Ryan, all he cared about was the A plot, and the B plot was just like, I don't care.
It'll get resolved in the next movie.
It's just got to loop back in here for a cool cinematic moment where the thing
exactly. Yeah. As long as I connected to something that was in Star Wars, we're good.
And then at the very end of it, Peter's still back in the living room and they're on the Falcon. He's like, oh man, I love Star Wars. Isn't that great, Lois?
Bro, when I tell you, in the first part of Blue Harvest, the couch part, I laugh so hard at that every time. Like, no, lift it up. And it, no. Like, yo, because that's so real. That takes me back to every moving experience I've ever had. Like, no, turn it this way. Like, that's just like the funniest shit, yo. That's probably one of my favorite Star Wars. I'm sorry, that's probably one of my favorite Family Guy jokes of like Andy. Sure. I was like, yo, that's so real, yo. Like, that's so real.
They knew exactly what they were doing with that one.
It was great. It was amazing. It was amazing.
All right, Matt. Well, we made a mountain out of a molehill this week. Thank you for hopping on, as always, to talk with me and all of the Annie Maniacs.
Hey.
You can find me and Matt on our socials. On Instagram is where we are most active, so you can find us for Annie Are You OK needs at ANI Are You OK Pod. And
Cast.
At our sister podcast, DB4L_pod for Dragon Ball for Life, where Matt and Trav talk all things anime. We have some great interviews with other content creators and with voice actors themselves who bring characters we love to life. Great interview, 2 parts that'll be out by the time this episode comes out with Hannah Aaliyah. So definitely go over and check that out if you're interested. And we have some fun, exciting stuff coming in the new year. Gonna tease again here a big fat holiday special episode that's not actually like about the holiday special, but we have a super special guest who came to talk world building with us. We will have that coming out soon, and it's quite a long one. So enjoy, break it up however you need to listen to it. But we have that coming up on Annie Are You OK soon. Matt, any big things coming on DB4L?
Yeah, so I thank you for that lovely lob off the backboard. I'll make sure I slam it home for you, good buddy. So I did want to acknowledge the Animaniac because we talked to the lifers the last recording we did. Episode hasn't dropped yet, not to timestamp our stuff. Time is a circle. Whenever you listen to it is what it is. But I did want to, just kind of, I wouldn't call it an apology, but I do want to acknowledge us as a group, the semi lack of engagement on the social medias. It's holiday season. We've all been spending time with our families. We've all also been working very hard on the shit that we are about to fuck 2024 up with. So we want to thank the Animaniacs and the lifers for putting up with our partial hiatus in terms of fan engagement, because we still been putting episodes out, but we just haven't been as active on our socials because we were spending time with our families. It's been New Year's stuff. We came off the heels of Super Game Day Outbreak. Shout outs to them. But we have some dope shit.
Half of the team is engaged and planning weddings.
Yes, planning weddings, going to weddings. But I promise you, when it comes to Annie Are You OK and Dragon Ball for Life, we have some dope shit coming next year. So
yeah, there's some big things on the horizon.
We'll be back to flooding y'all timelines very shortly. We are just taking a very well deserved, not even really a break because we're still recording regularly, but we just took the pedal off the gas in terms of like posting shit a lot. So we thank y'all for your patience with our semi hiatus in terms of engagement. We will be back and bigger and better and better than ever. In 2024. In 2024.
All right, man. Close this one out. Thanks for that message. But
absolutely, brother. Well, Animaniacs, like we always say, it could be the prequels, it could be the sequels. According to Adam Driver, it could have been Kylo Ren, but we got Ben. And it's always going to be possible that it might be Rey. Because life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, always remember, Andy gonna be okay.
B-O-K.
And with you, later nerds.
Deuces.
We out.